To go ahead and get started now. Thank you so much to everybody for joining the webinar today. Welcome to today's Handwritten Notes webinar. So my name is Hillary Roberts, and I'm a customer advocate here at Owl Practice. I'm excited to be hosting this session and showing off this exciting new feature for you today. You'll be muted for the duration of today's webinar, but there is a chat feature within GoToMeeting where several customer advocates are available to address your questions if we go. If you can't stay for the question and answer portion at the end, please feel free to email us at, I'm sorry, I noticed that somebody is muted. If everyone can just make sure that they are muted, it does really affect the sound quality of the call for the other participants. So please just double check that. Thanks so much. So today we're going to review how to navigate the feature, as well as provide an overview of how you can use templates and images to make this feature more beneficial. So our agenda today is as follows. Today we're going to review how to navigate the feature, as well as provide you with an overview of how you can use templates and images to make this even more useful to you. Finally, we'll wrap up by discussing a few troubleshooting questions and have a brief question and answer period. So without further ado, we're going to head into OWL and get started. Okay, just want to confirm that my screen is showing now. It should be my calendar within OWL. All right. That looks good to me. All right, so OWL's Handwritten Notes feature allows you to attach notes written with the stylus to any session or non-session note in your practice. Handwritten notes are a great option for practitioners who prefer to write their session notes by hands or supplement any session notes with additional images or diagrams. To start writing a handwritten note, you'll first need to open any session or non-session note in OWL. I'm going to access this right from the calendar. All right, so you can see once you open up this handwritten note, you will be able to access this by the left-hand sidebar here. If the note that you're creating is brand new, like this one, you'll see a message that says, save this note to access handwritten notes. If you see this message, it just means you need to add something to the primary session note itself and save this before you can start writing the session note. If you don't have anything you want to put in the main body of the note itself, you could simply write something such as See Handwritten Note and then click to save this. Once the content exists, you can then go ahead and open up the handwritten notes and create this by clicking the Add a Note button on the left-hand sidebar here. Here is the handwritten notes editor within OWL. On the left-hand side of the page, you'll see a range of options available to you. In the top left, you can see that you can add a title to the note, and in the bottom left, you'll notice that you can add additional pages to your note and scroll through these. When using handwritten notes, we strongly recommend using a device with a stylus when creating notes within OWL. For example, using an iPad with an Apple Pencil will give you the smoothest and easiest application of the feature. The Handwritten Notes editor does support the mouse cursor input as well, as you can see here. This can be helpful for those when making changes or who have limited option to devices. However, the experience is best with an Apple Pencil or a stylus. You can give this note a title, or if you save a note without a title, you'll notice that this is then called New Note. As you write a handwritten note, you can click the Save button at the bottom of the screen to minimize the risk of losing progress of your note. You can use the History and Revision buttons here on the panel sidebar to view previous versions of your handwritten note as needed. Handwritten Notes does not have an autosave feature, so please ensure that you do save your progress as you go. We'll now go through each of the options in the sidebar together. The first is the pen. Here you can see that you can easily change the size of this, as well as the color, to make different marks within the note. The pen feature allows you to easily write notes in a session on a tablet. You can also click the Move button here to select a piece of writing, and then drag this around the note to be wherever you would like to see this. The eraser function allows you to erase something within the note. Please note, it actually does not delete elements from the page. It simply allows you to erase the areas of the note as needed. If you do need to remove something completely from the page, you can use the Delete button. This tool allows you to click elements on the page and delete them. You can use this function on images and elements, as well as any pen marks that you've made as well. You would want to use this instead of the eraser tool when you want to remove something completely from the note. The Move button allows you to move an image, resize this, and even flip this within Handwritten Notes. To flip this, I'm just clicking on this little X at the top here and just dragging my cursor around in a circle to flip it horizontally or vertically. The History button allows you to see the note history, a list of all actions taken in the note since opening it. You can click on any action in the list to actually go ahead and revert back to that time in the note. It's an easy option that you can use to undo multiple saves at once. Please note that on History, this is only kept for the duration of your current session. If you close the note or save this, it will then, the history will then clear and it will not be available at a later time. Revisions, on the other hand, is where a session history is maintained for that session. Revisions is where the information is permanently stored for the version of that session. It's the same option that you have within your session and non-session notes, where you can select a previous revision and revert back to that at any time. Anytime you save a handwritten note, a new revision will then be stored and created in your account. When clicking the Notepad option, it will then turn this page to look like a lined piece of paper. This is really beneficial when writing on this if you want your notes to look extremely neat and clean. You can click to hide this or add it at any time by clicking the Notepad option right there. The Image tool gives you two options: upload an image or import a saved template. We're going to explore both of these in the next section of the webinar in more detail. And finally, the Undo and Redo buttons. Selecting these two arrow buttons will allow you to go backwards and forwards all throughout your session history within OWL. We're now going to explore the image function in more detail, and I'm going to show you how you can create templates for your handwritten notes within OWL. To do that, I'm just going to go ahead and save and close this note. As with session and non-session notes, you can create templates to be inserted into your handwritten notes. Templates allow you to easily use and reuse the same elements for all of your handwritten notes. For instance, if you have a standard chart or diagram you need to support a specific session type, a template's very helpful because you don't have to create it new for every single note. To create a handwritten note template, you'll go to the Manage section and then click on the Handwritten Notes section. In this area, you can upload images to be used as templates or create templates using the Handwritten Notes editor itself. To do so, click on the plus sign at the top corner of the screen, and you'll see two options: upload an image or create a template. If you select upload an image, you'll be prompted to upload an image file from your device onto OWL. Now you can go ahead and name this template, Click Save, and now you're going to have a version of that image stored in OWL that you can insert into your handwritten notes from any time from any time and from any device. Alternatively, when you click the plus sign, if you select the Create a Template button, the Handwritten Notes editor screen will open and you'll be prompted to craft a template anew. You're given the same Handwritten Notes tools options to create your own templates. The template editor functions exactly the same as a regular handwritten note. So I'm just going to show you an example of how you could do this here. When clicking the image, you could still upload a saved image from your computer of, say, another template you might like to use or something you'd like to add annotations to. You can see here that once the image is added, you can then click to move this if you would say like it centered on the page. You can also really easily resize this if you'd like to make it bigger or smaller. You can also use the pen function to add any annotations you might like, as well, changing the color and the size to add any annotations you might like for that as well. Once you're finished, you can go ahead and give this a name and then save this template. You can click to view a template here in the Handwritten Notes editor at any time as well. We're now going to head back to a client note so I can show you how to use a template within the note. So here you can see that I'm just going to access the note again by going to a client's profile and opening up their note to go into a handwritten note. To use a template, click on the image option when using the handwritten notes. When you click the image button, you'll notice that in handwritten notes as well, there's also two options, upload an image or import a saved template. If you select upload an image while within the handwritten notes instead of the templates editor, you will again be prompted to upload an image from your device if you would like into OWL. This will then place the image right within your note. You can then use the move function as well to move this, resize this, and rotate this within OWL as well. You can also add any annotations you might like to with the pen here. The difference between adding the image here versus adding the image in the template creator is that the image in the template creator will then be stored in your OWL account, whereas adding an image here is from your device and a one-time thing. This puts it in the note for once, whereas the other one saves it in the image in your OWL account forever. Alternatively, you might use the image button to import a saved template. You'll then be prompted with a window asking you which template from the ones that you've selected that you'd like to use. When you go ahead and click to confirm, the template will then be added into your notes. Sorry about that. We'll just add another page and try again. All right, there we go. So you can see that when you select a template, it's then easily inserted into your note. You can see how all of the changes I made when creating this are all inserted here, including that it's centered on the page, the size that I wanted, as well as the other annotations are included. Something else to note here is that when you select a template, it will replace any of the content that's currently on the page that you're writing. This means if you're using a template and you want to insert this onto your handwritten notes, you should ensure that there's no content on there that you would like already. You need to put the template first and then add the annotations afterwards. After you've written and saved a handwritten note, you can easily access this again at any time by opening the session note of Origin. When you click on the menu that has these three dotted lines, you'll see the option to view the note, edit it, remove it, or rename it. Clicking View allows you to view the handwritten note without any editing tools. If you wish to print or export a PDF of the handwritten note, of the session note that has a handwritten note associated with this, a new confirmation window will now appear. You'll see that this is asking you if you'd like to include the handwritten note in the export or printout as well. Simply click Yes, Include Handwritten Note to include them as needed. If you click No, you'll get an export or a print view with the handwritten note, and if you click without the handwritten note, and if you click Yes, you will have that added at the export at the end pages following the session note. When you initiate a notes export from the client's profile, you will also have the option to include any handwritten notes here in the export. You'll see that this option appears as a checkbox that can be selected similar to the checkbox used when you wish to include non-session notes in your client exports as well. We're now going to head back to the presentation to explore a few troubleshooting questions in more detail. All right, so the first troubleshooting thing that we wanted to address is how to add a PDF into a handwritten note. So to start, we'll discuss how you can add PDFs. Some practitioners may like to add an image of a PDF, but unfortunately with handwritten notes, as mentioned earlier in the webinar, images can only be uploaded, not PDFs directly. This means that currently you need to use an additional tool to convert the PDF to a JPEG to use this within handwritten notes. You can easily do this through a free website you find through Google. I've also included a link here that I've used myself and shared with customers. It's extremely easy to use. You simply upload the PDF and download an image copy afterwards. You'll need to upload each page individually into your notes, but using the template feature makes this easy and quick once this is set up. The next issue we wanted to address is if a pen seems jumpy or inconsistent when you're writing. Some users have reported finding the pen jumpy or inconsistent. The reason you may notice slow responsiveness or writing that isn't as smooth is because when the pen is drawing something on the note, it has to calculate exactly where the stylus is pointed on the device. Then, once this is moved, it needs to calculate that position again. This will ideally happen 60 times per second to optimize the performance. But if the device has a lot of memory and CPU resources being used by other apps that are open in the background, for example, having other tabs open on your browser or having other applications open on the device when you're using handwritten notes, it can only make a fraction of the calculations which is needed to be done. This translates to slowness or less smooth writing within OWL. To resolve this, you can ensure that all other tabs and applications are closed. If you're still noticing that this is choppy, try turning your device on and off. Next, you may wonder where the signature that you sign on your session notes is going in handwritten notes. This is still shown in the session note. When a note is exported, the signature will be shown at the end of the session note itself. The handwritten notes, if included, will be added as additional pages following the session notes. You can always sign your handwritten notes at the bottom as well if you would like. Finally, you may wonder what devices and styluses work best with this feature. Regarding styluses, we can only recommend that people use the Apple Pencil with an iPad or the Surface Pen with the Surface tablet currently. We've tested both of these extensively and added in an additional functionality around these device and stylus combos. You may find that using a different stylus on these devices, the functionality may be less accurate. If you have any questions about the device you are using specifically, you can email us at support@owlpractice.ca. We would be happy to continue this discussion with you then. This concludes the walkthrough of the feature on handwritten notes, and now we'd like to open it up for Q&A. We'd like to thank everybody for attending today's webinar. I hope that this session was helpful and informative for you. Please refer to our FAQ pages to familiarize yourself further with the information that we covered today. If you have any questions or feedback, please email us at support@owlpractice.ca. We're happy to discuss these further with you and how you can implement this into your practice. For anyone who is interested, please stay on the line now and I'll be addressing your questions through the Q&A. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just read through the questions that we have in the chat feature to see if there's any that were not addressed throughout the demo. So the first one was from Robin with how to use templates with the new iPad Pro. I actually think that we might have covered that right within the webinar already, Robin, as you asked that right at the start. But if you did have any further questions about that that aren't addressed later in the chat, you can just type them now and I can address them. I apologize for those noises during the meeting. That was some of the volume on people leaving GoToMeeting. Thank you for reaching out about that, Dee. Okay, so Sabrina asked if you can have a typed template. Oh, sorry about that. Sabrina asked if you have a typed template that you can add to handwritten notes. So yeah, Sabrina, this is a really great question. Thank you so much for asking that. So in terms of having a typed template, the way that you would need to do that is to take an image of the typed template and upload that as a template in your handwritten notes. So for example, you could use a screenshot to get an image, or you could use that PDF image creator that I did mention earlier. If you'd like, we can send that to you in an email, no problem. And then you would be able to take that image that you have created and then upload that as a template into Handwritten Notes. Hope that answered your question. Amy, so you asked if I could try to do some handwriting to see how clear it is. You wanted to know how usable it was to take client notes in a session. So for this, I was actually using my desktop, which is why it did look a little bit less clear. This is something that I would definitely recommend you would try out with a stylus as well on a device if you do have that. So Brenda asked more about the technology that was accessible. So we did address that again at the troubleshooting at the end, just saying that the iPad with an Apple Pencil as well as the Surface with the Surface Pen are the most recommended from us at OWL, as those are the ones that we tested the most. All right, so Kim asked how to watch this again as she missed some of the webinar. That's no problem at all, Kim. We're actually going to be sending a recorded copy of this to everybody who attended today, and it will be available on our YouTube page if you ever would like to watch this again as well. Okay, so we just have a couple more questions. This is great. Everyone's asking a lot of questions. This is really wonderful. All right. So Cynthia asked if you have handwritten, oh, sorry about that. Cynthia asked, if you have handwritten notes on paper, would you then be able to save it as a PDF and convert it in order to add it as notes with an OWL? So Cynthia, actually, we have another function within OWL that allows you to do this, and that is the client's documents page. I'm just actually going to go ahead and switch back to my OWL page to show this off. So right within the client's profile is this document section. And you really easily can go ahead and scan those documents that you already have for your current notes and upload them here to store those within your OWL account. We don't have a feature that will convert that at the moment, but you can definitely store any images or PDFs right within the client's documents folder. So Monique asked as well if taking, sorry about that, if taking notes on an iPad with an Apple Pen during the session, would it be possible to upload it as a handwritten note? So in terms of that, Monique, if you are using a different program, like I said earlier, you can just upload that file as a document here. And I did want to mention, in case everyone is not aware, you can really easily associate within a session note a document with that note. So you can see that there's then a link right to that note with that document. You can see that that is associated right here at the bottom of the note under the Associated Documents section. So if you are taking any notes with your Apple Pen during a session and you have those saved as another file that you're using outside of OWL, you can then upload that in the document section and save those there. So Dee asked, do we have to sign onto OWL on our iPad like a laptop? Or is there a particular app? So Dee, thank you so much. That's a really great question. So Owl actually does not have an app. We're a web-based practice management solution, which means that you can actually access Owl through any device that has an internet connection and a web browser. So that means on your iPad, you would go to Safari or Google Chrome if you do have that on there as well. Type the OWL URL right into the top of the screen and log in just like you would on your computer. And I just wanted to explain why we don't have an app. It's because with apps, you can sometimes be using older technology. As I think most of you have probably seen, you'll often have something on your phone prompting you to update things for a while when you connect to Wi-Fi or whatever it might be. But with a web-based practice management solution, you can always ensure that you're always using the most up-to-date version of OWL, never an out-of-date version like you might be with an app. Okay, so somebody else asked if there's an option to remove templates that have been shared. And yes, actually, I can show you how to do this in the Manage section with those templates. You can really easily go ahead and just click on this, and then you'll see that there's a little garbage can icon to then actually go ahead and delete that template if you would like. Okay, Robin asked if I have a note open in session and I want to see a previous note. How do I do this? So Robin, to do so, if you wanted to see a previous note and you were in a handwritten note, you would have to close the handwritten note and then go into the other note to access this. I did want to make you aware of a feature that we do have though that can make this a little bit easier. So I'm just going to head to a client's profile to show you this. Okay, so once you actually open up a note, you can look at a previous session note, but not a previous handwritten note, by accessing this easily here. You can click on your Save Template and import the client's most 3 recent notes into the profile. This is really beneficial if you're ever building on to a session note, or if you're ever building on, kind of just quickly reviewing what happened in the last session. We don't have this for handwritten notes yet, but I think that that is a really great suggestion that we could maybe improve on in the future, and I'll definitely take that feedback. Thank you so much. Okay, so Dee asked if we have any common sample templates available for download, or if there is a way to share these with other users. So at the moment, we do not have any sample templates available for download that come with your account. All of these are designed to be created custom for you within your account. Thank you so much for asking, but as there's so many different kinds of practitioners and so many different things people might want to use for an application of handwritten notes, we don't have any available for download right now. But again, thank you so much for that idea. That's really wonderful feedback. And Trisha actually just asked if something very similar, if there's an option to share templates created with other practitioners. That isn't a feature we have right now, but again, that's really wonderful feedback that perhaps we could build upon in the future, and I'll definitely take that back to my team. Okay, so I think that was everything that we had that had come in so far. I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes to see if anybody else has any further questions they want to type into the chat feature now. Oh, Robin and Dee, thank you as well for attending. I'm so happy you were able to attend this and you found that helpful. In terms of templates, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about some sample templates that people might like to use for this feature. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and save this handwritten note. To show you a couple of options. So for example, something that somebody might like to use that I'd like to show you is something like this self-care wheel. So you can see here, this is something like a blank diagram that you might find really useful. Here in the top of these, you could write things such as names of a component, like for example, familial relationships, or something else like reading or exercise. And then here you could write in things such as the things that a client could use to do this. So something you could fill in session with a client, that's an example of a really beneficial template you could use. Another example that we thought of how you could do this would be something like this, where if you have diagrams that you really like to show clients within session, you could easily open these and then point these out. You can do things with a pen, like add other annotations on here. So if you were trying to make a point specifically and show these to people, you can then circle this, you could underline something, you could cross out something that's not necessarily relevant for somebody, and make other changes within session as well. One other example I wanted to show you of another template that might be really beneficial is something like a human body chart. So here you could see this is really beneficial in some scenarios. If you're not necessarily a mental health practitioner, this is great as you can get people to easily point this out. You could also have your clients, if they are experiencing some difficulties in certain areas, for example, pain, they could then circle the parts on here where they're having issues, highlighting this, and this could be especially beneficial when working with children as well. So Cynthia, thank you so much for asking if these templates were available within OWL. These were actually just images, then examples that I'd found myself when trying to explain this feature. They're not available within OWL, but again, the idea of a template library has been really popular in this webinar, so we are going to take that back to our team as feedback. Thank you so much, everybody who expressed that to us. I'll just wait another minute to see if there's any other questions that come through. We'll just wait one more minute to see if anyone has any further questions. Thank you again so much to everybody who attended today. I hope that you found this to be a beneficial session for you. Stephanie just asked if the webinar was recorded if you missed the beginning, and yes, it was. We are going to be sending an email with a recording to everybody who attended and signed up today. You're welcome, Stephanie and Pat. Thank you so much for attending, both of you as well. We really appreciate it. We'll just wait another minute to see if there's any other questions that come in, and then we'll go ahead and end the webinar at about 3:43. All right, it doesn't look like any other questions are coming in, so I am going to go ahead and end this webinar now. Thank you again, everybody who attended today. And if you did have any questions that come up after the fact, please send us an email at support@owlpractice at any time. We are happy to help you with any additional questions that you might have about this feature or about OWL in general. Oh, we did have one more come in. Can handwriting be converted to text? So Donna, thank you so much for that question. That is not a functionality that this feature has within it right now, but thank you so much for that feedback. Just gonna wait and see if any other questions do come in. Donna, you asked me if this is okay using a workaround. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that question. If you could just elaborate more, I would be happy to help. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this session now. Thank you so much again, everybody, for attending today. And like I said, if you do have any questions, please contact us anytime at support@owlpractice.ca. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.